This is the all-new BMW 1 Series. And here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and the number one community to discuss cars, today with Thomas, we're going to take you a detailed tour, exterior, interior, and what we can expect from driving the new 1 Series, different colors and trims. And of course, we talk about this paradigm change from the rear-wheel driven platform to now the front-wheel driven platform. You can also get all-wheel drive, but what's behind that decision? And does it also count in future for the 2 Series, Coupe or Convertible? We'll tell you all about it here now in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Wow, that was an awesome intro by Jonas once again. Please tell us if you liked those beauty shots in the comments. So we have 2 cars here for you today. This one here is the top petrol version, the M135i. And this one here features an even sportier layout. But let's just begin with the basic facts, because the new 1 Series is about 3 centimeters wider. And also it has a bigger stance on the road just visually. The BMW double kidney is bigger than before. They've done it with all of their models now. And those headlamps here are a little bit slimmer and more horizontally drawn. They start with halogen. Optionally, you can get the full LED. Those ones you can see here. And then they also have this L-form daytime running light. Pretty spectacular. Here in the M135i, you can also see you got this mesh style grille. It will be different in the other versions. It will be more with those vertical fins. So here a little bit more spectacular and also bigger lower bumpers. So you can really see that this one is the new sports version. But how do you like in general this new 1 Series styling? And that's what I meant. This one here is the sport line. So here then you have those vertical fins in the new BMW double kidney for the 1 Series, and also some chrome around right there with the frames. It's also different with the 135i. There's also the luxury line, and then there's an M Sport model. The M Sport would be then between the sport line and the M135i. But here you can already see that it's somewhat sporty in the lower area if you compare it to the luxury line, for example. But definitely a little bit more subtle than with the top sports model. 4.32 meters, 14 foot 2 or 170 inches is the length of the new 1 Series. And if you really know the length of the old one, well, it hasn't really changed, but the proportions have changed. Here you can see the front hood is actually shorter. Yeah, I mean, visually, it usually looks better when those cars have a long hood. But however, this one is a hatch. So I think it does somehow then still fit to the car when the hood is a little bit shorter. When it's a hatch car, if it's a sedan or something, then the longer hood is definitely always more beautiful, I think. So, transverse engine mount, we already see it now from the exterior and not longitudinal. So you can do this shorter hood, and that's supposed to give you more space on the interior. Of course, we will soon explore that together. 16 to 19 inch wheels. Those ones here are the top size with the top sports model. Also this M style for the rims, 19 inch. You also got the M badge. Then also contrasting mirror caps right there with some nice small vortex generators. Well, this one here in this segment, they ask the customers, do you really care about if it's rear-wheel drive or not? And obviously their research showed that it's not the case. We'll soon talk more about this issue when we take a look at the engines in the front. Here so far, also some black frames around the windows right there. And you can see that those tail lamps already begin quite a lot at the side profile. The white car here, by the way, mineral white, and again in the sport line. Here it comes with 18-inch wheels in this very car, so a little bit smaller wheels, but I think it still fits the car very well. And you always have to think about the rolling comfort. The biggest wheels will also be a little bit less comfortable than. If you like it a little bit stiffer from the suspension, of course, you might not care. Here in this car, also then with the chrome frame around the windows, if you want it a little bit more elegant in the style and a little bit less sporty, you can see that the main design line, which divides in light and shadow, goes right below the door handles. So indeed, it's a little bit different as for the styling if you compare it to the predecessor, but technology-wise, that's really where the most changes have happened. A very interesting light signature here at the rear, and the top sports model gets also those exhaust pipes right there, but the one here on the left, this one is actually shut at the moment with a separate valve, and it will open on demand and give you some more sound boost, but they are really two real exhausts. Also with a diffuser in the low end with some comp style right there. So you can also see it's the sports model. Also comes with all-wheel drive. Again, we'll give you more details now in the engine part about that. Let's first take a look at the other model, and you can also see that the top part here, this wing, is also a little bit more significant in this very vehicle. The color here, by the way, a beautiful blue. It's called Misano blue. And now for this combination here, Sport line, together with the 118i, so a small petrol engine, you just have one exhaust pipe. We have a contrasting lower end here in black to the mineral white. You can see there's no special wing in the top part. Again, a little bit more subtle overall. Which styling do you like best? You prefer the sportier one or the more drawn back one? And by the way, already some information about the suspensions. There's a standard suspension, then there's an M suspension, minus 10 millimeters. And then you can also get an adaptive M suspension that you can also vary a little bit between comfort and stiffness. But however, adaptive suspension also for the M135i only with 18-inch wheels. So the 19, as we see at the other car, only possible with the normal stiff M suspension. So what about the engines, and again about this concept discussion? So again here now, so you see the transverse mount of the engine. This one is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine in the M135i, 306 horsepower, and 4.8 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. All-wheel drive, that means for this new generation, front-wheel drive plus rear on demand, maximum distribution of 50-50, front axle, rear axle. And again, they did that mainly to give you more room on the interior, and it's already confirmed that for the coupe and the cabriolet, which will be again called 2 Series, they will not do that. Then they will stick to the bigger platform, which has the rear-wheel drive, and then when you have the all-wheel drive, rear plus front, instead of here, front plus rear. But for all 1 Series, definitely this architecture. However, BMW promises, and we'll of course find out with the driving review, that the agility of the ride should not have been compromised because there's a new traction control. And this traction control is standard for all the 1 Series models, and it prevents understeering, so the typical characteristic of a front-wheel driven car. Also when you have the all-wheel drive model. This is very, very interesting. And the normal models also get somewhat than a simulated front differential lock, just on an electronic basis, again, because signal wheels could be braked in or something. However, this one here, the M135i, this one still gets a real front differential lock, a mechanical one. This about the big engine, but there's also a small one. For example, this one here, I talked about earlier, the 118i, and this one is a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder. So you can even get that one with 140 horsepower, and then 8.5 seconds is the acceleration figure. Then there's also a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder diesel, the 116D with 116 horsepower. Hey, that fits. Then a 2 liter 4-cylinder diesel, 118D with 150 horsepower, or 120D then with 190 horsepower. Those ones here are so far confirmed. The lower engines, lower specs start with manual hand drive, and then you can also optionally get dual clutch transmission, 7-speed, or then also an 8-speed automatic gearbox for the bigger models. So plenty of choices, yes, and really very interesting how they will perform, both the smaller and the bigger engines, and of course we will test them both for you later. The smaller ones also just start front-wheel drive, and then again the one with big horsepower, there's also the all-wheel drive option, or with the M135i, always all-wheel drive. And now to the interior, because here it gets really exciting. There are two main aspects about it. First of all, they want to bring fresh styling. You can see it right there. This one will where the LED ambient lighting will also come. We will soon show you that at the blue car. Then some soft touch on the top part, leatherette inserts right there. And this one here is a hard insert, but also with a structured surface. Very interesting. Some reasonable space also at those inside the door pockets. And the second important point of this car is they use premium materials, and they use all the stuff you can also get in the bigger cars. Soon tell you more about that. Here, for example, you get first of all a base seat form, which is more open. Those ones here are the sport seats. They come standard, for example, with the Sport line, with the M Sport, and also with the M135i. So those ones here, then the sport seats, which have some more support at the lower and also at the higher part here. And they come here with fabric on the inside and some leatherette sensor tech at the outside. Great quality, both. This one also durable and feels very nice. So they use sustainable materials and also very good for the climate comfort. They stay cool in summer and also warm in winter. And you can get a different color contrast. Those ones here, for example, with orange. There are, of course, other color schemes available. There's also a base fabric seat available, again, which has a little bit more open space and just plain fabric. So different choices right there. The steering wheel, this one here is the normal steering wheel. We'll soon also compare the M steering wheel. Here's a heating button also directly at the steering wheel. And all the styling elements you can see at the steering wheel, there can be found with the bigger cars. Also, if we come about, the gear lever, for example, automatic gearbox lever. This has a similar style than this new crystal lever, for example, we find in the bigger cars, just that it's not the crystal version right here. So, very interesting at the first sight, but even more interesting is how much space does it offer now. Let's now get inside. And this one would, for example, be the biggest difference to an X1 or the X2. As SUVs, they are just a little bit higher. Here you have a lower, sportier seating position. And indeed, if you think about being, let's say, BMW purist, then you might still go for this one, even though they changed with the architecture, because this one is the smallest low vehicle they have. And you feel somewhat similar than the predecessor here in the front. You don't have too much room around you. You have a sporty cockpit atmosphere, definitely. As for the headroom, that is no problem. I'm on it's 86 or 6'1" and leaves plenty up of headroom right there. This one here without panoramic roof at the moment. The steering wheel can be controlled manual right here in height and reach. It's a very smooth process. And I really prefer this normal or standard steering wheel setup. I will soon show you the other one. Electric seat control right here. You can, for example, also just put the lower. I have to power the car up. You can just put the lower end up or just the front end or something. So different choices. And then here in the very front, there's a manual control if you have a little bit longer legs. So overall, do you feel a comfort difference to, for example, a 3 Series? If you are tall, yes. So I feel more comfortable in a bigger BMW. That's no wonder. If you're not as tall as me, that will rather not play such a big difference. This is the new interior, and this setup here with this 10.25-inch screen, right and left, is the same also for the big BMW models. And here the climate control is still separate right here, so you can control it, for example, while driving. Then the volume knob right here with the metal knurling. High build quality, so BMW really has caught up there and even overtook Mercedes. The Audi Interior build quality is also really cool in this segment as well, but BMW now leading together with Audi, as I can experience with the test vehicles we have here. You can also see the visualizations. The battery is quite low here. We'll soon also turn up the engine that we can show you more about those screens. Standard would be 8.8 right, so a little bit smaller, and 5.1 inch together with analog instruments on the left. That's the standard. And then optional here, you get this dual 10.25 inch setup. On the top part here, soft touch as well. And again, this, very interesting lines that somehow mirror the top lines here too. Hotkeys buttons. And then in the lower end, you have a space to put your smartphone, also for inductive charging. There's some kind of rubber pad behind it. USB supply, 12-volt power supply. We have the key right here, by the way, which is a standard BMW key, slim one. Don't wonder that the gong is working here. This is a pre-production car with also pre-production software, so to say. You, of course, get the final one. Then in the lower part here, the shifting lever and the very flat integration of all those buttons. It's quite nicely done so that buttons don't stand out. You, for example, can change the driving mode. And, well, the screen. You can still use this control button right there. You can write addresses in there. You can press it to change something. You can have the hotkeys. But at the same time now, you can also have the screen just via touch. So both controls possible with this turning, pressing knob, and also via touch. So now we have turned on the engine. Then you can also see how the climate unit looks like here with the digital screen. And some more details to that screen right there. It's pretty responsive. You can have this touch control, as I said earlier. I like to use the hotkeys in the lower middle console that you can jump back to the main menu, for example. Phone connecting with Bluetooth or then with Apple CarPlay, and Apple CarPlay is also wireless. And then you can also use this new voice control, which works pretty good for, destinations or temperature. Hey BMW.
Hello, what can I help you with?
Scratch my back.
The vehicle is not equipped with this function.
Too bad. But maybe this is traffic information. So let's try something serious. You can again say hey BMW, but you can also change it to like hey Heinz or hey honey or something. You can personalize that you maybe give a name to the car and then you talk to the voice control. Or you can use the button at the steering wheel. Set temperature to 23 degrees.
I set the temperature in the driver's area on 23 degrees Celsius.
And the thing I use it most often for are redestination inputs. This one, by the way, the software version 7.0 then in the final vehicle. And the thing is, if you go for the smaller infotainment screen, you only get 6.0. So you have to be aware the most elaborate software you only get for the bigger screen. And those are the optional full digital instruments. You can see here that the RPM go counterclockwise and the speed goes clockwise. They do that to have some more space, for example, then for assistance systems information in the middle part. So in the background, you can see our blurred equipment clutter. And in the front, you can see the head-up display. Again, it's not entirely very crisp, sharp on camera, but it is in real life. So I can promise you that, but it's really hard to catch it on camera. Here you can see the allowed speed, the current speed, and even some GPS information if you have a GPS route running. So the head-up display, an interesting option here now also for the 1 Series. In the middle armrest right there, it's very well attached here. I'm going to do the shake test. And then below here, there's a USB-C port. So then you have both the standard USB or so far standard and now the newer USB-C 2. And there's also this nice light signature at the floor, and it comes right from the side mirrors, so I can show that here. Hey, I got BMW wings on my hand. That's fancy, right? So now to the rear. Due to the changed wheelbase, changed platform, they promise us more space. Is that really true? We'll find out. First of all, door closing sound here in the rear. That's quite decent, really sounds good. And also the inside of the doors here, soft touch at the rear, we rarely find it, especially not in the compact segment. There now you can see something of this ambient light. Again, different colors are available. We'll soon show you even more soft touch here also at the rear armrest. And this one here also an interesting detail in both in the front and the rear. The Hofmeister King or Knick is the original German word for it, design element from 1960s, 1970s coupes by BMW on the exterior, carried over on now to the interior for the door handles. Then first look at the rear, same sporty setup as we found in the front with fabric and Sensatec leather red. Really great materials they choose there, and finally BMW also found a way to amaze us with non-animal seating surfaces. Really cool what they've done here with the 1 Series. And now is the big moment. I have set the driver's seat to my driving position, so when there's a tall driver, and well, so far for me there was no chance to get in the rear of a 1 Series without hurting anything. And now it works. So indeed, couple of centimeters more in at the knees and also at the head, together with those savings on the rear part of the seat. You see, it definitely directly fits here for tall adults, and also headroom wise with 1.86 or 6'1". Yeah, you can definitely go with 4 adults here now in the rear, and it's not too bad. It's actually quite cozy here. It's not such a long vehicle, not such a big vehicle, but indeed this is the main reason why they went for this new concept here, and you can somehow understand it because, like sporty BMW fans will probably still go for a coupe and for the convertible. And for example, they also saw that with the 2 Series, more the high horsepower specs have been picked, whereas with the 1 Series, there were more low horsepower specs being picked. Maybe also indicating that it, maybe weren't those like sporty attached customers. And so they decided here for the 1 Series, more important to have room in the rear for like family purposes and so on, and everyday usage of this vehicle. And then with those, exclusive models, 2 Series, coupe and the convertible, still stick with a rear wheel based platform. So what else here in the rear? Isofix at the outside of the seats. You also switch the seats from here in 1/3, 2/3 split. We'll soon place that over in the trunk. Then there's this armrest here with some cup holders, and also the middle part you can fold down as a ski hatch. That's very important also for smaller cars being produced in Munich, where this one is also being produced, because there are a lot of, for example, guys at the BMW headquarters who like to go skiing, and so they really need that, and that's always a thing they will never forget that. So, and in the middle console right there, well, the middle tunnel is lower than before, but there's still one because it is optionally also an all-wheel drive vehicle. Then there are 2 USB slots right there, and again also in the rear we have a very solid build quality. I like that. And now it's time for the setup with microphone and the measuring stick. Zzz, zzz, zzz. Getting close to Jonas now. So here we go, because it's trunk time. Now, first time ever with an electric hatch also for the 1 Series. Here we go. As an option, and then there's now 380 liters. That's 20 liters more than before. Up to 1,200 liters. We'll soon show you that. And the length right here is about 75 centimeters in length. And it's about a meter in width. And see here, it's way easier to load things in and out. So that's an improvement. There's a small step here. Then you can put some more stuff below that here. Some smaller stuff like this one here. Emergency kit and so on. Again, a very nice build quality right there. What about the height? Well, it's a hatch, so somewhat limited. 39 or about 40 centimeters right here to the cover. And let's now flip those seats and see how that one turns out. Again, there was a ski hatch available, but also this 1/3, 2/3 split. I have to go around to the rear compartment to redo that, to reach that 1,200 liters of maximum capacity. They flip quite easily. And then we have this loading setup, and to the seat as I would be driving. What can we score then? And this is about 150 in meters. And now the car with my favorite exterior color also has my favorite interior. Really amazing what they've done here. So first of all, the ambient lighting here, LED ambient lighting. You can see it here a little bit more. Soon also more when the doors are being closed. And they also have some blue fabric here at the inside of the doors. And then also fitting blue contrast stitches. And probably you already know I would pick the car exactly as it is here right now. Maybe not with 19-inch rims. I would go for 18-inch rims. That's how the car's also planned for from the engineers, and then with the adaptive suspension. But let's now focus on the interior here. You can see those ones here are the optional M Sport seats. So again, base seats, sport seats, and then the third option, M Sport seats. And they have an integrated head restraint. You can see it right there. So visually, on the sporty side, more attractive even. And then there's fabric on the inner part. This is then for even better climate comfort than with the microfiber, because the microfiber gets a little bit warmer and cozier than the fabric, which stays a little bit cooler. But microfiber, of course, still stays cooler than a slick surface. And you can see here this fabric microfiber or Alcantara mix, again with the blue contrast stitches. That's very beautiful and very sporty. And you can see the seat form is different. And the interesting thing now is, when I take a test seat, how does it play out from a comfort? Because usually, or at least, so to say, quite often the case is that those optional Super Sport seats or S Sport seats or M Sport seats, that they are less comfortable, but just look sportier. But in this case, I have to say, I feel a little bit better in those optional sport seats than in the other sport seats. Here again, for the M135i, the normal sport seats would be the base, and those ones here are optional. And in this case, I can really say you should go for them. I feel a little bit better, in those. Is really cool sporty seating position. And even though I know, it's not really driven biased anymore here than with the overdrive, but still, this car tells me to basically start and attack. So it's a very sporty seating position, the sporty cockpit atmosphere. That's totally fun to me. Headroom, again, is the same with those seats, but they're just a little bit different in the upper area here. I guess at the end of the day, you have to try it out for yourself, maybe if you get a chance to test it at the dealers. And here in this interior, you can see, it's not too different. Also, again, the optional bigger screens. Here you have the nice visualization. So in the final versions, you will always see your car with your color. Oh, get traffic info. Your car with your color right there on the screen, also on the left part. Then the ambient light, you can see it also here. So they hide it just a little bit to give it a more spectacular effect. You can also see it at the inside of the doors, for example. So it's very interesting to spice it up a little bit here. For example, also if you think about some younger customers, for example. Then you can already see this one here is the M Sport steering wheel. It is a little bit thicker in the touch, and it's also, you always feel that in the higher area it's a little bit wider than in the lower one. And I'm just not a fan of the M Sport steering wheel. Maybe you are, but I feel more comfortable with the normal steering wheels by BMW. However, the steering feeling is usually a pretty natural one. Was not that satisfied with the 3 Series recently, but with the other BMWs, we look forward to how it is here with this new platform. In the X2, for example, it was actually quite cool. Real Beamer fans, Beamer how you say sometimes in the US, or do you know in France, they sometimes just say Le BM, because BMW would be a little bit too long. So Le BM it is. And in Germany, of course, BMW, the original pronunciation. So, and BMW design element right here. Interesting that the Hofmeister King is used right there. And then look at how the door opens here, how the glass is cut out. That is very unique. Not saying it's practical, but definitely unique. And I also want to show you the rear compartment of the optional Sports Alcantara equipment here. Ambient lighting, and then there we go. So also Alcantara then for the rear seats. And now interesting is also that the back part of the front seats is of course different because of the different seat form. And sometimes slim sport seats give you more leg room than the normal sport seats in the rear. And sometimes very thick sport seats give you less leg room in the rear. For example, with the Seat Leon, which would be a competitor also of this vehicle. With the Seat Leon, if you go for the optional sport seats, you lose leg room. But how is it here? So let me try just to get inside here. And you remember that in the normal sport seats, I could exactly fit in there. And then there was also this gap. So, and it seems to be like in this case with those optional sport seats, because they're quite thick, they may be a little bit more comfortable in the front. But indeed, here they cost you leg room. But then again, it's not that bad because this seat here, and I think that's intentional, it doesn't have a hard back cover. So there's a soft cover at the back, a leatherette cover. And that, evens out the problem a little bit because then, you don't push against anything hard. And again, if you think about some little annoying, they are very nice kids and they are also annoying kids. And you maybe know those annoying kids who always push from the rear to the front seats. Yeah, maybe I think everyone, especially the parents have experienced it at some point, maybe not with your own kids, but with other annoying ones, And then it might be better to have the hard cover here at the back. So again, it still works here. So I'm just about to hit it with my knees, but again, coast a little bit of legroom. But I think still those would be my choice. Would it be yours as well? When I'm talking about children, what about child safety when closing this new electric hatch? Did they apply the right amount of torque that it closes very well, but at the same time doesn't squish anyone? Well done. So that's pretty safe, easy, and also should not squish anyone then. Ta-da! And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new BMW 1 Series. This paradigm shift or this new platform, you can very well understand it on the factual side because what we could clearly see today, you have way more legroom in the rear passenger compartment. And that's very important if you buy this car, maybe even as a primary vehicle, and then you have to rely on that room you have. So this is a massive step forward. And I think we can then also live with it that the front hood is a little bit shorter. Visually, I think it works pretty well, especially here with the M135i. I think the rear wing is also something that makes the car way sportier just from the visual side. The interior build quality is very good and especially great as for those fabric and Alcantara seating choices. Big step forward for BMW. Good for the customer and also better for the environment and for the animals. So pretty nice interior and also a little bit more fresh than maybe some of the other BMWs. At the same time, you can get the same infotainment update than you would get with the bigger BMW models. So the same as we've recently seen with Mercedes, that they also have their smaller cars, with all of the stuff you also can get for the big cars. So in the past it was like that the high-tech infotainment system and also assistant systems you could only get for the bigger ones, now also for the small cars. The emergency brake, the autonomous one, is by the way included here, and then optional, of course, all the other assistant systems like blind spot monitor, adaptive cruise control and so on. And even this reverse driving assistant we've recently shown with the BMW 7 Series that you can go inside somewhere and then, it doesn't fit, I want to go just backwards the same way. Even this assistant here available with the BMW 1 Series. It will be very interesting how it drives with the all-wheel drive here, for example, and in general as for the handling. They promise there's still a very agile handling, although it's primarily a front-wheel driven car. If that's true, we will find out for you soon in the full driving part. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and please like, share and recommend us, and also see us next time.